Sports Live on this Monday. Glad to have everybody along. Sam and I are both out in nature again at St. Thomas Sports Park or surrounding St. Thomas Sports Park as the Titans are back on the practice field again this morning for another training camp practice, and it's going to be a fun one. Hopefully not as hot, Sam, as it was on Saturday out here. Saturday's practice was a fun one to watch, and we'll talk more about what happened Saturday here on this Monday as they get ready for practice number 4 at St. Thomas Sports Park, underway at 9:30 a.m. Central. So that's why Sam and I are out here in the elements, in the heat. And Sam did take some advice that I had from Friday morning show. We'll talk about that later on. But we're talking today about the dynamic duo that is brewing, and that is between DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks, as both guys have made some pretty incredible plays through the first 3 days of Titans training camp. And then we'll talk about a couple different things. It's who is wide receiver 1A, who is wide receiver 1B, who's going to have more yards, who's going to be the go-to guy in this offense as the Titans are trying to see if they can replicate what they had in 2020 with A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. There's also a lot of trouble in Indianapolis as Jonathan Taylor requests a trade officially from the Colts on Saturday night, and a lot of fallout. Jim Irsay can't stop tweeting or saying stupid things. And so we're going to dive into that as well and get your reaction to the Colts in the Titans division. And maybe arguably, not my opinion, the best running back in the league a couple of years ago is asking out of Indianapolis. And that situation is just getting uglier and uglier. It is a Monday, which means an Ask Me Anything topic. So, Sam, let's get this thing rolling out here in the heat.
We are out here again. We're going to be out here again for a lot of these training camp shows. Like you said, we're just on the cusp here. Like, this is just the beginning of a full summer of, shows out here from St. Thomas Sports Park. So before we get this morning's show underway, make sure you guys share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button in the bottom right corner. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and take that YouTube link, send it to a friend, send it into a group chat. Find somebody that's a Titans fan, a football fan, maybe a Colts fan. You want to rub their nose in it a little bit. Be like, hey, check out some of this Jonathan Taylor stuff. Trouble in Indy while there's things looking good over in Tennessee. Just send it to somebody. Share A to Z Sports with them. Introduce them to what we've got going on every morning. That's the best way to support the show before we kick it off on a Monday.
Yep, let's do it officially and welcome in everybody. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app as always. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter. We are both live this morning from St. Thomas Sports Park as the Titans training camp gets underway at 9:30 a.m. Central Time. We are Nashville's on-demand sports network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show segment by segment on our Twitter timeline, and also hit us up on Instagram and on TikTok for more great Titans coverage, also threads these days as well. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That's better coverage rates and service at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, keeping you and us safe online, and get a 2-week free trial for all of Aura services by following our link, aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 locations in the Middle Tennessee area, in Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro, online, KrebsKubota.com. So, Sam, we are at St. Thomas Sports Park. We're in separate parking lots. You've got the OG training camp spot with the bubble and the pretty logo behind you, but you also got all the traffic from the delivery trucks that could potentially get in your way. I am in last Friday's spot, where I think I've learned from the sun's trajectory and shade to hopefully have this one be better, but it does look like I'm in the jungle with the trees and the overgrown bushes by the lake here outside of St. Thomas Sports Park. But we're going to get to a lot of Jonathan Taylor stuff towards the second half of the show, because that is just getting uglier by the tweet from Jim Irsay up there in Indianapolis about him requesting a trade. But, Sam, this dynamic duo of DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks is really starting to gain steam, just like the steam coming off the lake behind me with the sun approaching 100 degrees. Sam, these two guys have been fun to watch the last couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really excited to see the pads coming on today and kind of see what we've got going on, with things going a little bit more full speed. I'm really pumped for joint practices up there in Minnesota for the first time when the Titans get to go against the defense that's not their own. Because so far during camp, it's been a lot of fun to watch Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins make big plays. Just in the first week, they've both been getting the fans going, getting, the bystanders and their teammates fired up with big plays that they've made downfield. And it's really shown you a glimpse of what is capable, like what is possible for this Titans offense, what is possible for Ryan Tannehill this year, knowing that he has not one, but two bona fide weapons that you could view as a wide receiver one to make big plays. So, I mean, and they're just, they're at the surface right now. Like DeAndre Hopkins is 4 practices in to his Titans career,
2.5
practice, 2.5 into his Titans career. And so they keep making good plays as individuals. And I'm really excited to see as camp goes on and they become more of a team, more of a unit. They start to run routes off of each other. They start to get more in sync with their quarterback. What does this tandem look like as pass catchers for the Titans?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be crazy because, remember, like we just kind of hinted at, DeAndre Hopkins left the first practice, in the middle of practice because he had to go catch that flight. And that's exactly what Mike Vrabel kind of told us would happen with DeAndre's first week as a Titan because he already had those set up engagements that he had to go deal with off the field. But then he was back on Friday, and on Friday he had a really good practice.
I think there's a chance he's out today, right? I mean,
think so?
Is that maybe, right?
I don't know. Who knows?
I keep expecting him to miss. Mike Vrabel said he was going to miss, and so I keep showing up being like, yeah, probably no Hopkins today. And there he is practicing, going crazy. And yeah, like you said, he had a great practice the other day.
And the first practice I saw D-Hop catching up with Ran on the sideline, like during individual drills. And I heard Ran ask, "What time's your flight today?" And he said, "I got to leave here at 10:30." And he did, and he went and caught his flight. Then Thursday we were not there. But it sounds like DeAndre Hopkins was not at the walkthrough on Thursday, but he was back on Friday and then also back on Saturday. So that seems good. And we talked about this, Sam, late last week that on Wednesday's practice, the first three of Tannehill's first 4 throws in team drills were to DeAndre Hopkins. And so that was a good sign. And then on Friday, DeAndre Hopkins makes this catch. And this is from Jimmy Wyatt of the Tennessee Titans. He got the best video this one. I self-admit I had a poor job of camera work on this one, but let's just watch Jimmy Wyatt's video. And I got it running back 3 times back to back to back. That's D-Hop. That's typical D-Hop right there, right, Sam?
Well, yeah, on the first rep, the very first rep of these these little drills that they've got going on. Ryan Tannehill taking a shot over the middle on Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton, the poor victim there, did a really nice job in coverage, honestly. But that's what you hear about DeAndre Hopkins. That's the praise that people give him all the time is if he can get his hands to a football, he's going to catch that football. He doesn't really have to create crazy separation or burn somebody down the field or be wide open to make a play. As long as you put it close and DeAndre Hopkins is able to get his hands to it, he's probably going to come down with it. A great job there, adjusting his body, really a one-handed catch even. So like that right there is as good of DeAndre Hopkins as you're going to get. And that's, as advertised what the Titans are paying for in 2023.
And then the very next day, and look, Christian Fulton, I think, has had a really good start to camp, but he got beat by D-Hop there, and he got beat by Treylon Burks in one-on-ones on Saturday morning. And this is me at my best when it comes to my camera work. If I miss the D-Hop catch, I got this. That was full layout, Sam, there from Treylon Burks, and you really like the slight little outside step he gave Fulton to get him to flip his hips, turn upfield, and he was gone. And Ryan Tannehill threw both of those throws. And I think that's also something to look at. The placement to D-Hop was back shoulder. That's where D-Hop makes all of his money. The placement for Treylon Burks was go out and get it, young fella, and full extension. Treylon Burks comes down with that. That was pretty impressive from 16 on Saturday morning.
Yeah, it was it's one-on-ones, so you have to take some of it with a grain of salt. Like, all right, he's supposed to win the rep. But when you look at the ball tracking of Treylon down the field, honestly, a ball that was maybe a tad bit overthrown that he kind of had to leave his feet to go get, corralling it, making sure he maintained the catch into the end zone, and then just the idea of him, like you said, such a subtle move, which he then uses his speed and body to continue to separate from Christian Fulton, and then using his length to go ahead and make the catch. That's good. That is prime Treylon Burks. That's what you love out of Treylon Burks, and why he draws all these comparisons to A.J. Brown, and why people love him as a potential deep threat and somebody who can make plays downfield. And Austin, I'm sitting there, and I watch that Treylon Burks play, and I continue to watch Treylon kind of go about his business and win some reps, and the physicality and the technique in which he's running his routes, which just looks on another level from where he was at this time last year. I think, everybody that is watching the Titans practices notices how different Treylon looks now from last season. And I can't help think to myself, with all this hype around DeAndre Hopkins, we kind of not forget, but I don't think people are giving Treylon Burks enough love, because he was the guy that everybody was excited to watch heading into this season. And then, Hopkins takes some of the news cycle. And so I fired off a tweet. I tweeted out your video from A to Z Sports, and I said, hey, don't let DeAndre Hopkins distract you from the fact that Treylon Burks is a dog. And DeAndre Hopkins apparently very much agrees with that sentiment. He hit me with a quote tweet just telling people, hey, they can be quiet. Hey, this is his equivalent of an eyeball emoji, I think, where he's just saying, hey, my guy's sneaky. He's going to sneak up on him this year. And so it started getting the ball rolling for our topic today, where I look at these two guys and I say, D-Hop, proven veteran. We know what he is. We know how impactful he's going to be for the Titans offense. But Treylon Burks could be sneaky, very, very dangerous as well. And how will those two fall into place when it comes to regular season games and targets?
Right. So, Sam, let's ask this question. DeAndre Hopkins or Treylon Burks? Who is wide receiver 1A? Who is wide receiver 1B for the Titans this season? So who is wide receiver 1A? Who is wide receiver 1B for the Titans this season? And Sam, before we get to everybody's answers, I'm going to tell you guys about Krebs Kubota. They are Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment provider with 3 great locations in Middle Tennessee, in Franklin, Columbia, and in Murfreesboro. Their website's KrebsKubota.com. They're also an elite Kubota dealer. That means you get a lot of great perks because Kubota is the best equipment in the industry right there. And you also get the best warranties and other perks that come along with going with the Kubota brand. And then you tie in the Krebs family. They do a fantastic job, phenomenal job of prioritizing your customer service to make sure that you get exactly what you need from your equipment needs. So Krebs Kubota is where to go. So check them out online, KrebsKubota.com, or check them out in person at any of their 3 great locations in Middle Tennessee, Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. They've been doing it for 18 plus years. They're also big Titans fans. My guys, Matt and Jamie, a lot of fun to talk to. You can talk equipment, you can talk ball with those guys. So online at KrebsKubota.com.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Place that wager. Use that bonus code. It's ATOZ Sports. And even if your bet loses, you're all good. A second chance to win big with BetMGM and that bonus code ATOZ Sports at BetMGM.com. Austin, you said we were asking the question. We originally had this prepped. Who is wide receiver 1, Treylon Burks or DeAndre Hopkins? But I kind of like the phrasing of the question a little bit better, because I think both of these guys can be viewed as a wide receiver 1 on this team. So you have to kind of ask it in this way. Wide receiver 1A, wide receiver 1B, DeAndre Hopkins or Treylon Burks. Let's see what the chat has to say. Pistol Ramsey is coming in with a Hopkins as 1A. Ken believes Burks is 1A. Luman believes Burks is 1A. Tighten Up believes Burks is 1A. Mr. Jones says both. Well, can't say both, Mr. Jones.
Nah,
Come
pick one.
on. Daniel
Play the
writes
game
says
the right
Burks
way.
is 1A and D-Hop is 1B. Steven says it's Hopkins that is 1A. We've got Treylon as 1A from Eric. Burks is 1B from Rooney, saying Hopkins is 1A. Burks is 1B from Seal, saying that Hopkins is 1A. Orlando's got Hopkins 1A. Lone Walker's got Hopkins as 1A. Music City Malik has Hopkins. Lewis has Hopkins. Tighten Up has Hopkins. Max has Hopkins. King JP has Burks 1A. Jason has D-Hop 1A. We got Burks from Titans Kyle. Burks from Christine. We got D-Hop from Jay. So this is kind of split. We got Jay. Darius says tough 1A. Hop will draw double teams. So surprising, honestly, to me, Austin, that the chat is split, which makes me very interested to hear where you're going to go with this.
Well, I want to ask you a question before I dive into my answer. How do you define whenever you're talking about two guys, who is wide receiver one?
Are you going to judge your answer based on my answer?
I'm just kind of curious about how because I know how I define it. How do you define 1A versus 1B? Like, what is the differentiator for you, in your opinion?
I think 1B or 1A is what Zach Bingham would call. He would refer to your gotta have it 2-minute drill scenario.
Go get a bucket. Who can get you a bucket?
Who's your first read? Who goes to get you a bucket?
Okay.
And so I don't necessarily think it's based on production. I don't necessarily think it's based on anything other than crunch time. You need a bucket. Who is your go-to guy in the Titans offense? That's what I would consider your 1A. If you've got two, I think you're like for example, I think Tampa Bay is a great example of this, or like of a team that has two wide receiver ones, 2,000-yard guys. But when they need a bucket,
Philly is Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Those are typical 1A, 1B guys.
Right. And so I think your 1A for them is probably A.J. because I think A.J. is if they needed a bucket, I think Jalen. I don't know.
That's a good.
I'm not sure I've watched.
People are sensitive to this, but I think so. Here's how I view it. I view whoever is 1A, I think has the most volume of targets and attempts, right? And so if you're going to the Eagles, this is insane though. But the Eagles, A.J. Brown had 145 targets. Devonta Smith had 136 targets. So maybe you're right. Maybe A.J. is 1A there. But my 1A is who is going to get the most volume of targets. It might not be the guy with the most yards or the most touchdowns, but the most volume of targets. That's why I answer this question, Sam, with DeAndre Hopkins. I think DeAndre Hopkins is Titans wide receiver 1A right now, and Burks is 1B right now, because I think D-Hop is a guy who is going to be more used schematically, intentionally, when it comes to quick, get the ball in his hands and in the red zone. I think DeAndre Hopkins' veteran experience comes into play here, where Burks is just more of your highlight reel guy, but D-Hop is your I'm going to score 25 a game, but also dish out 8 assists. And Burks is just really, making those plays on SportsCenter and all that kind of stuff that go viral on social media. So I say DeAndre Hopkins is wide receiver 1A and Burks is 1B. I don't think Burks is wide receiver 2. I truly think it's 1A, 1B.
Yeah, So I have to go with D-Hop as well, because I think the veteran experience of Hopkins makes him a more proven quantity here. Like he proven entity. You know what you're getting out of DeAndre Hopkins as a veteran. And if I'm Ryan Tannehill and I'm in the way I view this, which is I need a bucket, I need a conversion on 3rd down and 8, I'm looking at DeAndre Hopkins first. I know that he is as reliable as possible. I know that he is going to make the catch if the ball is on his body. I know that he knows how to get open. And those things, I think, separate him from what we have seen Treylon Burks prove at this point. So DeAndre Hopkins is my 1A. I think he's their go-to. But Austin, I would not be surprised. And I've gone back and forth whether or not I have this take or not. I think Treylon Burks might lead the Titans in yards.
Okay.
Because I think you might get 10 targets going to DeAndre Hopkins, and a lot of them are he might have 8 catches on 10 targets, and a lot of them are 10-yard pickups or 8-yard pickups and just things that move the chains and are reliable. But I think Treylon Burks is going to be their home run hitter. We saw him have flashes of being that home run guy last year, and I think having a threat like D-Hop in this offense is going to give Treylon more one-on-one coverages, more opportunities to make plays deep. So D-Hop might have 8 catches. Treylon might be the guy with 4 for 120. And I think that might be where he ends up being their leading receiver while not being their go-to guy, if that's possible. But it's a very interesting dynamic. And yeah, I might have that take. I don't know if I have that take or not, but I would not be shocked if Treylon Burks had 30 less catches and more receiving yards than DeAndre Hopkins this year.
All right, let's take that another step. So, do you guys agree with Sam that Burks could be the leading receiver when it comes to yards?
Yeah, let's ask the chat. Who's going to have more receiving yards, Burks or Hopkins? Let's just do that.
I like that. Burks or Hopkins, more yards, not touchdowns, just more yards, Burks or Hopkins. I think we both think Hopkins has more catches, but maybe Burks more yards. I don't know. Who has more yards, Burks or Hopkins? But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans, they can help you out and get your health coverage taken care of with whatever your situations is, whether it's you've got a growing family, maybe your family has moved out of your house, they're doing their own thing, and you're kind of empty nested there with your spouse, and you're trying to figure out how that next stage of healthcare can help you out. Farm Bureau Health Plans can help you out there. Maybe you're a young professional, you're getting off your parents' health coverage, and you need someone to help guide you into that next step of adulthood. Farm Bureau Health Plans can do that as well. They give you great coverage for a great rate and awesome service. Zach has saved 20% per month on his health coverage and actually got better coverage for that low rate. So check them out. It's so easy to do. You just do a health assessment that takes maybe 20, 30 minutes, and Farm Bureau Health Plans can get you in. And once you're in for life, baby. That's the great thing about Farm Bureau Health Plans. So if you get in young, that's just better for you down the road. So check them out at fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. You see the bonus code. It's ATOZ Sports. Use that on the BetMGM app or BetMGM.com and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, you place a wager with that bonus code when you sign up. And even if your first bet loses, you can get that money back up to $1,000 in the form of a bonus bet with that bonus code. It's ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ Sports on the King of Sportsbooks, BetMGM.
All right, Sam, so your follow-up question to our main question, we asked who is wide receiver 1A versus who is wide receiver 1B. And then the follow-up, we both think D-Hop is wide receiver 1A.
Yeah.
But you think Burks has a chance to have more receiving yards. So now we just asked the question to everybody, who's going to lead the team in receiving yards, Hopkins or Burks? So I'll send you to the chat to see what people are thinking about that one.
Surprisingly, I think people are on with my take here. Harlan says Sam is right. Titans Kyle says Burks. Lou Man says Burks. Jay says it's still Hopkins. Kenneth with Burks. Cecily with me says Burks. Troy says Burks. Rotary says Burks. Pistol says Burks. Satow says Burks. Kendrick says Burks. We got Thomas Williams says Burks. Ken, we got more. Yes, Burks. We got D-Hop from Eddie. We got Hop from Justin. Eric is on Burks. Jay Rome says Hopkins more yards for sure. Oh, Two-Tone Malone says it's Hopkins. Jags Got Juice says Sam makes sense. D-Hop in the slot and Burks outside. Hopkins still more yards. I think we are going to see a lot of Hopkins in the slot. That's what Tim Kelly liked to do with him a little bit.
Let's look. Sam and I are not allowed to give away too much information for what's happening at practice, but yeah, I think there's a lot of flexibility and creativity when it comes to where they line up. I'll leave it at that, right?
Just look at the Texans offense when Tim Kelly was calling plays with DeAndre Hopkins. That would be a good, they're using a lot of the same concepts as D-Hop has shared in many press conferences already. Ethan says Burks. Orlando says Burks. Daniel says Burks. So we had a lot of people here coming in believing that Treylon Burks is going to lead the Titans in receiving yards, Austin. Do you agree with this take? I'm curious to hear your opinion on this.
So I'm going to actually get mathematical with this because I do think it's important to understand what has to happen if we both think DeAndre Hopkins has more catches and Burks has more yards, how does this work out, right? Because how many receptions ballpark roundish number do you think DeAndre Hopkins will have? Do you think 70 is a good number? 75?
I would have said 80, but I mean, 75? I think anywhere, 75, sure. That's fine.
So we'll go 75. So the last 3 years, DeAndre Hopkins has averaged 12 yards a catch. So let's do 12 times 75. That equals 900 yards. So that's under 1,000, right? So I think Treylon Burks will have 15 yards per catch. I think that's fair.
Okay.
With DeAndre Hopkins on the other side, I think Burks has 15. He had 13 yards a catch last year as a rookie. So I think it'll improve off of more. Okay, so 15 yards a catch. So 900 divided by 15 is 60. So that means you're talking about DeAndre Hopkins, the same number of yards by averaging this, Burks having 3 yards per catch more. So it would be about 15 catches or so.
Yeah, but 60 divided by 17 is less than 4. So they were talking about less than 4 catches a game.
No, I'm just, 60 catches. So, right. Okay, let's just say they both are 1,000 yards, right? 1,000-yard receiver divided by 12, divided by 75, right? So 1,000 yards divided by 75 for D-Hop, that's 13.3. So that's a little bit above his last few years average with Arizona. So then if you go with 1,000 so it's 1,000 divided by 13.3 live math. That's 75 catches or so for Burks. And, I still think DeAndre Hopkins still leads the team in yards. I just think there's a difference of what his skill level is as a veteran at, having, so many years, nearly a whole decade in the league. I think he's just going to have more yards than Treylon Burks.
I think Hopkins hits 1,000. Like, I think he gets to 1,000. I have a lot of confidence in that. I don't know. I think the addition of Hopkins might help a lot of the things that I was worried about Treylon Burks in year 2. I think it might help a lot of those things. Like Burks now with the one-on-one coverages, a couple big plays. Like I can see a world where he has a couple deep catches in a game and goes for 150 a couple times. And that's really going to help him get over the 1,000-yard mark. It's all about health for both of them, but I think if they're both healthy for the full year, I think they both go over 1,000, and I think Burks might have a little bit more. It's going to be close. It's a fun debate and a good fun debate to have. Like, it's fun that we're talking about this. But
you have to get nuanced with it though. Like, we have to really look at it and see how this offense is going to be split up. Somebody asked, let me see if I can scroll back up to those comments. Asked, when's the last time? Oh, Max says, when's the last time the Titans had 2 wide receivers that went over 1,000 yards? Do you know the answer? I know. I mean, I knew it.
No
I looked
idea.
it up to confirm. You have to go all the way back to 2004. 2004 is when the Titans had Billy Volek as their leading passer because McNair only played in 8 games. Billy Volek came in and had a crazy run. And the leading receiver was Drew Bennett with 1,247. Drew Bennett had 11 touchdowns. Derek Mason, our guy D-Mace we see out here, had over 1,107 touchdowns. So those guys exploded in 2004 when the Titans really opened up the offense. That was the year after McNair had the co-MVP season. Then he got hurt, and then Billy Volek came in and slung it around all over the place. But the running game for the Titans there, they had Chris Brown as their leading rusher, who actually was pretty good. That Tennessee offense was not bad. It's just their defense was pretty awful, and they were not able to meet up with their expectations. But I think that is where – and Sam, honestly, I've been sitting on this for a long time now. I even had this opinion that I'm about to get to before DeAndre Hopkins officially signed with the Titans. When I felt like it was trending that way, I formed this opinion. You ready?
I'm ready.
It will be very underwhelming if DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks don't combine for 2,000 yards this season.
I think, yeah. Duh.
Just
easy.
Very underwhelming. And I think that's not even the expectation. I think that's the floor. There's the floor, there's the expectation, and there's the bonus level, right? I think the floor needs to be 2,000 here combined. I think that's exactly what they should be. Now, Ryan Tannehill has to stay healthy and stay available too for them to continue to throw the ball enough to have those guys combined for 2,000. But I mean, you feel like that's pretty obvious?
If Ryan Tannehill's on the field and they're both on the field for the season, yeah, because I think they're going to be such a like heavy usage of the offense. Like the targets are going to go to Burks and Hopkins. They are going to be the identity of this passing offense. I see a comment here from Jay that says, mark my words, Sam, Chig with more catches or perhaps even yards than Burks. And I just don't see that happening. I think these two are the offense. And if Ryan Tannehill's dropping back and throwing the ball and these are his two primary targets, they better be over 2,000. Like, I think if these are your two guys playing 17 games and they're at 850 yards and 750 yards, like that was a disappointing year. And so we have to get more passing production out of, Burks and Hopkins both. But if Robert Woods was able to get 500 yards or whatever he got with as bad of a season as he had and the quarterback play that he had last year, like, come on, this group, like these two are going to go over 2K. The question is how high and, what is the ceiling?
And then who's the third guy, right? Because, a couple of years ago when AJ and Corey Davis, they combined for over 2,000. Corey came up just short of the 1,000-yard mark, but they went over 2,000 as a wide receiver duo. You had the third guy in that group was Jonnu with 440 and Ferkser with almost 400. And so there was a big drop off from passing option 1, passing option 2 to passing option 3. I think Chig is going to do more than what Jonnu Smith did in that 2020 season. And plus I don't think Derrick Henry's going to have 2,000 yards. So if you save 500 yards off of that, I think so. Now, how many yards does this offense have to go around? And then how do you cut it up? Because in 2020, when the offense was at its best, they had 3,800 passing yards and 2,700 rushing yards. So that's a lot of yards to split up. And so they were able to, that's over 6,000 yards that they're able to split up there. If D-Hop, Burks, and Henry can go for over 5,000, then now you're really, over 3,000 of those yards. Then now you're really starting to cook. It's more like 3,500 for those three guys.
Well,
and then
here's
how do you
what I was.
Go ahead.
Well, here's what I was going to do for the 2K thing with these two. Let's say Ryan Tannehill has 3,500 passing yards this year, and that's what like a healthy Ryan Tannehill season would look like in this Titans offense.
How many? Say it one more time.
3,500. I think that's
low.
I think it's a bit low, but like, so all right, so let's go 3,800. Let's go with right there.
Good. 3,800 is good.
You've got, what is Chig going to be? Maybe 500 yards. Let's say Chig's worth 500. All right, now you're at, we take that off there. You're at 3,300. Derek might be worth 200 to 300. That puts you at 3,000. Kyle Phillips might be worth what? 400 yards to 500 yards. That might be nice, generous to Kyle Phillips. 500 yards, we'll say that. That's 2,500. Tajay Spears might be a couple hundred. You're at like 2,300 yards still that need to go around. Like that's where these two guys come into play. I don't think NWI is going to have more than 100 receiving yards, 200 receiving yards this year. I don't think he'll be a huge pass catcher. The question is, I think the two guys that are interesting that will affect this number are Kyle Phillips and Chris Moore, and how featured are they in the passing game? Are they going to be substantial contributors, or is this kind of just, a two-man show?
Yeah, because again, 2020 is kind of what we're going off of, because that's when Tannehill had over 3,800 yards.
750 for Chig, is that too much? I think that's too much.
That's too much. 750 for Chig is way too much. I think it's
not an anti-Chig thing. It's just a year two Chig thing. Yeah, and an opportunity thing.
Yeah. So look, all right. So when you had two receivers go for 2,000 plus, and AJ and Corey, Jonnu had 448. Ferkser had, so you had two tight ends combine for just over 800. I think Chig can probably get 600 of that, and then tight end 2 can maybe get the other 200, right? So now you've got Adam Humphries, Khalif Raymond were the other next two receivers, and those guys combined for 400, but Humphries was hurt a lot. So now you've got really NWI Chris Moore fighting for like 500 combined. Well, I didn't miss it. I left out Kyle Phillips. So now you got Kyle Phillips and somebody else fighting for 500-600 combined.
I think the only way that a Burks Hopkins tandem doesn't go over 2,000, I think there's two ways. One is an injury. That's the obvious one, to either one of them or to Ryan Tannehill. And number two would be Kyle Phillips is heavily, oh boy, we are getting a lot of honking going on out here.
Sound okay.
The other option would be Kyle Phillips is the Kyle Phillips he was in week 1 against the Giants, where 10 targets, I believe, in that game, 6 catches, 66 receiving yards, one of Ryan Tannehill's favorite targets. And if he's that heavily featured, I think he might chip into some of that production. But it's hard to judge at this point in time in camp, really how active they're going to be in getting him the ball.
Yeah. So now let's do this. We're gonna punt Jonathan Taylor for maybe tomorrow or something. We got plenty of time.
We can talk about it real quick if you want to talk about it. We don't have to ask the question.
I just want to keep going. I just think we're having too much fun talking about this passing game number. So okay, let's just put it and ask the chat here. If D-Hop and Burks combine for 2,000, what's a ballpark number for Chig and a ballpark number for Kyle Phillips? So a ballpark number for Chig and a ballpark number from Kyle Phillips if Burks and D-Hop combine for over 2,000. But first, let me tell you guys about the Aura app. Aura is how you can stay safe online. I've been doing it since April, and my life has been a lot easier and stress-free, less stress compared to before I had Aura. And Aura can help you out staying safe online. It's so easy to do, and you get a 2-week free trial when you go to our link, aura.com/ATOZ. That's aura.com/ATOZ, because they can get rid of data brokers spamming your life. They'll automatically submit you out of those opt-out requests on your behalf. It was great. 30 data brokers had my info when I signed up with Aura. It took 5 or 6 days to get rid of those spammers, junk mailers, telemarketers from my email, my mailbox, and my cell phone. So it's a great way to go about it. And again, Aura will help you out and give you a 2-week free trial, but only if you use our link right there on the screen, aura.com/ATOZ. That's aura.com/ATOZ for that 2-week free trial.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks, and you can use the bonus code ATOZ Sports on BetMGM.com to get up to $1,000 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet doesn't win. Sign up, use that bonus code. It's ATOZ Sports on BetMGM, and even if your first bet loses, no worries, money back, second chance to win big with BetMGM because of that bonus code. It's ATOZ Sports. Sign up with the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM.com.
All right, so if D-Hop and Burks combine for 2,000 plus receiving yards, how many does that leave for Chig and Kyle Phillips? So, Sam, I'll send you the chat to see if they got here.
All right, trying to scroll up here. We got a lot of answers. This is going to be a little chaotic here. We got J. Rome says Chig is at 600, Phillips is at 350. We got Chig for 500, Phillips for 300. 400 and 500 from Omar. We got 600 and 400 from Keaton, 700 and 600 from Pistol Ramsey, 600 and 400 from Tighten Up Ohio, 600, 400, 600, 500, 700, 300, 400, 350, 600 apiece from Devin, 450 and 375 from Maven, 550, 375. You guys are getting down to 25 yards, 525, 375, 750 and 800 out of Jason Martinez. That is such a big number.
What is this? The Rams? Is 2,000 Rams? What's going on here?
Jason Martinez has this as the year of Ryan Tannehill winning MVP, throwing for 4,500 passing yards
and 80 touchdowns.
So yeah, we got answers all over the place. Here's what I would say, Austin, is I would have a hard time assuming that we have these two over 2,000, Hopkins and Burks over 2,000 combined. I don't think Chig and Kyle Phillips combined for much more than 1,000 together. So I have Chig at 600 and Phillips at 400, but that could be 550, 450, somewhere in that range. I think it sits right at 1,000 because you got to think, this could be D-Hop and Burks combining for 2,300 yards, 2,200 yards. It could be above 2,000. These two are at 1,000. I think Tajay Spears is going to be pretty active in the passing game. You still have, some yards that are going to go to Chris Moore, some yards that are going to go to NWI, some yards that are going to go to Derrick Henry out of screens. And I don't think Ryan Tannehill throws for 4,000 yards. That would just be a monster year from him. It's possible. But I'm not going to.
They run the ball. The Titans run the ball.
They run the ball too much, and I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to predict Ryan Tannehill to go for 4,100. So I don't think you can put these two over 1,000 if you're talking about Burks and Hopkins over 2,000 combined. And I think that's why I say a guy like Phillips' production is so important to like what Burks or Hopkins are going to do.
Yeah, I was thinking about the 1,000 combined number, but I'm going to go a little less. I'm going to say like 900 combined. And I think Chig probably gets the most. Chig's going to have the third most yards on this team, outside of significant injuries. But that's kind of where I'm at.
That feels low for Kyle Phillips. You haven't seen it in outside of one game so far. And I have a really hard time of like understanding exactly what he is for this group right now. And is he that next guy, or is it Chris Moore, or is it Chig? Like, who is that next receiving target? I think it's Chig as well. So I think he's their third option. And then the Tajay Spears aspect is a whole nother can of worms, because if he's Dontrell Hilliard, that's a couple hundred yards and a lot of targets going his way.
So the only thing we can really do is go back to that 2020 Titans offense. And it was a 16-game schedule, right? And so, if they played 17 games, and Tannehill would have crossed 4,000 yards, and Corey Davis would have gone over 1,000 too. And so I look at Khalif Raymond and Adam Humphries. Those two guys went over 400 combined. That's Kyle Phillips, right? Like, that's Kyle Phillips.
Yeah.
And so I think it's 900 to 1,000 is the combo of Chig and Phillips. And I think that's why, Sam, I said – I feel like a big loser in the DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans is NWI, because I think he loses a lot of his role, and he is really delegated to special teams. And that's kind of where it's a different conversation, kind of revisiting that, is because there's no reason to play NWI if Chris Moore's a better receiver, and Kyle Phillips and DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks are out there too. Like, he's now your wide receiver 5 when you're talking about that option. And so there's just not a lot of footballs to go around, because Derrick Henry's still going to get 300 carries.
I don't know, dude. My argument against it, like this NWI thing, is I think NWI's role was going to be what it was going to be, and it's still going to be that, which is special teams, which is blocking, which is, a couple targets here or there if somebody's hurt or somebody's inactive, or if they're just kind of running out of play action and run a timing route because he goes out there, you think, oh, run, and they surprise you a little bit. Like, I don't think he was ever intended to be a massive receiving threat on this team. And I think the Titans offer to him in free agency, and the fact that he had to go to the open market to then come back to realize this is the best opportunity for me, shows you that the Titans weren't going to pay him a premium because they don't believe he's a huge part of their offense. They believe he has a role in it. And that was before DeAndre Hopkins was even a thought. So I don't think his role has changed all that much. I think it's everybody else behind him on the depth chart. I think it's people when you start looking at the Racey McMaths, the UDFAs trying to compete for a roster spot, the Mason Kinsey, Reggie Robersons of this team, that I think, their chances of getting a roster spot have now minimized, to basically zero with the Hopkins signing. Also, keep in mind, they might keep 3 quarterbacks. So how many wide receivers do you keep if you're keeping 3 quarterbacks? I don't know if you keep more than 5. That'll be interesting to see as camp plays out as well. But I think we know what NWI is. This is why when we had that conversation, biggest loser, I brought up Kyle Phillips, because now we're having a conversation about Kyle Phillips where I was high on him, really high on him.
Yeah.
Where I'm saying, I don't know, maybe 350 to 400 yards for this guy, because D-Hop is going to get a lot of action.
Yeah, no doubt. A to Z Sports here live on this Monday morning. Troy says Austin, the Kings should only get 20 catches a game this year. This offense is turning into a passing offense. I don't disagree, but do you believe that they're going to do that? That's a different conversation. All right, let's turn to a guy who is wanting a lot more money for the touches he's gotten. Let's talk about Jonathan Taylor, because there is trouble in Indianapolis, as Jonathan Taylor did request a trade Saturday night from the Colts. And then our Destin Adams did a lot of good reporting on this. New to A to Z Sports, Destin in his first week with A to Z was able to break some news on this. And DeAndre Hopkins, and Jonathan Taylor is just getting even uglier with the Colts apparently considering to put Jonathan Taylor on the non-football injury list, which could also mean that the Colts don't have to pay him if they keep him on that list. And Jonathan Taylor says, nope, no back pain, never reported back pain, and questioning those sources. And Jim Irsay can't keep his mouth shut. So, Sam, we're going to ask this question to the audience. What's one word to describe your reaction to Jonathan Taylor requesting a trade from the Colts? But first, tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Visit them at boneandjointtn.org or go see them out in Franklin for as reliable of care as you can ask for. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility to assist in your recovery that includes everything from rehab to imaging to surgery to testing to their clinic. It's all in the same spot and under the same roof out in Franklin. No driving all over Middle Tennessee to go to different appointments. You just go and see the most reliable healthcare, the most incredible people over at the Bone and Joint Institute. Go watch our doc talks with them, see how knowledgeable these doctors are. They're the best in the business, and they're located out in Franklin. Schedule your appointment with them, boneandjointtn.org.
Also, the BetMGM map, you can win big by using our first bet offer with bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's getting up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet misses, visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. It's the only new customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualifications and eligibility requirements. First online real money wager. Only rewards you should knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem games, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. So, Sam, one word to describe this Jonathan Taylor situation with the Colts. And so we'll go fast with this because I know computer battery is getting low for you and me too. So one word, I'll send you to the chat real quick.
All right, we got one words from the chat. See if this will load right here. Satisfying, shameful, lot of expletives coming in from the chat this morning. People, positive. This is not one word, but evil chuckle, I think, is very fitting from Andre that I wanted to, give it some love on the screen. Ursaid from Scott. Justified from Frankie. Wow is just a quick one word from Stefan. Crazy. We've got hilarious. We've got implosion. So a lot of good one words. Austin, my one word here is just going to be messy. Like, this is just messy from the Colts. It's messy on Jim Irsay's behalf to turn a player of the caliber of Jonathan Taylor that means as much to that organization as he does and to their success this far against the team. This is ugly, and it's the ugly side of the sports business. You see it a lot in like baseball arbitration when a team starts bad-mouthing a player trying to negotiate a contract down. You see it a lot as DeAndre Hopkins referred to when he was like getting traded by the Texans, and they were saying things about, oh, he doesn't practice, and you start to kind of, demean the character of a player that means a lot, and it gets really, really messy. This is bad news for the Colts. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is a Colt week 1. I don't think he's on the field for them. Like, this has developed to a spot where this feels very difficult to repair for an owner that is as hands-on and loud and in your face as Jim Irsay is. This is a bad situation for Indianapolis.
It's a disaster. That's my one word is disaster, because now Jonathan Taylor, he doesn't have a lot of good options here. Like, Jonathan Taylor could be screwed in how this is going to be able to be handled, because the Colts can put him on that non-football injury list and withhold his salary and then have him carry over to next year being in the same contract year and not give him the accrued year. So it's a disaster. It's a complete mess, like you're saying, Sam. And Jim Irsay is not, look, I think Jonathan Taylor,
even if he wants to come back and play for the Colts, even if that's his only option, how do you do that at this point in time, knowing what Jim Irsay has said to you? Like, when I hear that he had a closed door private meeting with Jonathan Taylor, came out of it, and then all the same stuff is being said where it's like contract's not close, and then you're talking about putting him on the non-football injury list, which is like a trump card. That's like a big middle finger to him. That's where I'm like, all right, this thing is ugly.
It's gross. And he's 24 years old. That's the crazy thing, is like, if the Colts wanted to pay him, do it now. Like, pay him now until he's 28 and then move on from him. So it is gross. A to Z Sports here live. I know Sam's computer battery is getting low. So real quick, Wilson County Hyundai, check them out for all of your new car buying needs and your new car buying process. Make them a part of that by going to see our friends in Lebanon, and Payne Bone does a great job with his crew out there at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Sam, I'm going to ask you one thing to part the show.
Hit me.
What happened to the necklace? Where's your necklace at? And your lanyard, your credential lanyard does not count.
I have it. I actually might have it in my car. If you want to give me like 30 seconds, I might be able to go grab it.
You have to pay it off later in the week.
Tomorrow. we'll do it. I have it in my car. I've got it ready to go. It's
too late. It's too late. We're ending the show. Show's over now. You
surprise for the people. It's a nice one. It's a good necklace. So yeah,
you can do it Wednesday when I'm doing the Derrick Henry eye black, and we'll do it from our home studio because the Titans don't practice that day.
There might be something funny about me doing it out in front of the bubble though. That would be kind of funny.
We can maybe save it for Friday for that. All right. Well, we're about to head out of here because our batteries are low. So we'll see you guys later on. Make sure you like the show before you go. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well, because we're gonna have a lot of great Titans content coming from practice all over YouTube later on today once practice ends. But like the show before you go. We're over 50 likes. I don't know where we're at now, but we got to get more. Like that show. Hit it. Always more people watching right now than
we hit it. There we go.
We got it. All right, sweet, love it. We'll see you guys after practice and tomorrow morning. Appreciate it as always.